Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I never believed in the supernatural. Ghost stories were just that, stories. At least, that's what I told myself. But there's something that happens to a man when he sees something that shouldn't exist. Something that crawls out of the darkness and calls your name with your own voice. After that, you stop pretending monsters aren't real. It started with a breakup. Nothing dramatic. Just 7 years wasted on a woman who looked me in the eye one morning and told me she didn't love me anymore. No affair, no fighting, just cold truth like frost on glass. I packed my gear and left the city behind. I needed air, space, silence. I drove into the heart of Arizona, past towns with more tumbleweeds than people, out into the Navajo Nation. I remember my grandfather once telling me to never camp alone out there. That land ain't just dirt, he said. It remembers. I laughed it off. Old man talk. By sundown, I found a perfect spot near a dried-up creek bed. The sky stretched forever. Purple and orange smeared across the horizon like someone had set fire to the clouds. The cliffs nearby were jagged, ancient. I pitched my tent under a patch of mesquite trees, lit a small fire, and made some chili. It should have been peaceful, and it was. At first, the wind died down completely around midnight. That's the first thing I noticed. A silence too heavy, the kind that wraps around you and squeezes until you feel like something's watching. I tried to sleep but couldn't. My head kept replaying things she'd said. How I changed. How I wasn't the man she fell in love with. I rolled over again and again, wrestling the sleeping bag in knots. Then, sometime around 2 a.m., I heard it. Scratch. Scrapey. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just deliberate. Nails dragging across gravel. I sat up, heart thudding. My flashlight was within reach, but I didn't grab it yet. My ears strained. Maybe it was a coyote, a raccoon, something normal. Then I heard my name. Jake. Not yelled. Whispered. Almost sweetly. Like a child trying to wake a sleeping parent. Jake, come out. And here's the part that made my blood turn to ice. It was my voice. Exactly my voice. Same tone. Same rhythm. Like hearing a recording of yourself in a mirror, but warped just slightly. The words stuttered, cracked in the middle, like a machine trying to speak English and almost getting it right. I didn't move. My hand finally found the flashlight, but I didn't turn it on yet. Something deep in my bones told me not to. A shadow moved across the wall of my tent. Long limbs, spindly, crawling low to the ground. The shape didn't walk. It skittered, like a spider, only it was too big for any animal I know. Much too big. Then I heard the breathing, right outside the tent flap. Shallow, wet, like something was learning how to breathe through lungs for the first time. My hand was shaking as I clicked the flashlight on. The beam cut through the fabric and cast a pale cone through the mesh. That's when I saw it. Its face. Human, but not. The features were almost correct, but distorted. The mouth was too wide. The eyes too large and too dark, like they were borrowed from something else. Its skin twitched and shifted, as if unsure what shape to hold. And it was smiling. I pointed the flashlight directly at it, through the mesh. It didn't flinch, didn't blink. Its arms bent backwards at the elbows like an insect, and its fingers ended in claws that twitched as it crawled, slow and deliberate, beside the tent. "Jake, you're alone now," it whispered again, this time in a garbled mixture of my voice and hers. The woman who left me, her tone my pitch, like it was pulling sounds from my memories. Then it laughed, a short, wet sound, not amused, practicing. That's when instinct kicked in, not logic, not bravery, just something primal screaming run. I unzipped the tent, boots half on, and bolted. I didn't look back, not once. I ran until I hit the dirt road where my truck was parked, fumbled the keys, shoved them in the ignition, peeled out in reverse, then forward, wheels kicking up dust. I drove for over an hour before stopping. The sun wasn't even up yet. When I returned in daylight, I didn't go alone. I brought a ranger with me, told him I thought I saw a bear. But the tracks around my tent weren't from a bear. There were claw marks in the dirt, deep, precise, surrounding the tent, like something had been circling for a long time. And human footprints, bare feet, no tire marks, no signs of other campers, just footprints, leading away from the tent, into the cliffs, into nowhere. I left everything behind. The tent, the food, the gear. I never went back. Some nights, though, when I'm trying to fall asleep and the room gets too quiet, I swear I still hear it. That whisper, that voice I know so well, yet not at all. "Jake, come out." I keep the lights on now. Always. Story 2. It happened on a Tuesday night in July. One of those heavy summer nights when the air clings to your skin like a wet sheet. The kind of night where the insects sing loud and long, and even the moon seems to sweat. I was home alone, just me and Toby, my dog, a fat old beagle with more bark than bite. The house was quiet, save for the hum of the fan rotating in slow, lazy arcs in the corner of the living room. I was halfway through an old rerun of The Twilight Zone when I heard the knock. 3 short raps, firm and deliberate. Not a neighborly knock. Not the kind from someone asking to borrow sugar or sell you a church pamphlet. No, this knock was confident. Too confident. I muted the TV and sat still for a moment, my pulse thudding in my ears. Toby didn't bark. That should have been my first clue. I stood, crept to the door, and peeked through the peephole. At first, I thought my heart had stopped. It was him, Danny, my brother. Same messy hair, same faded gray hoodie with the ketchup stain on the pocket. He stood there, calm as ever, his hands at his sides, his eyes locked on the door like he was waiting for me to answer a question I hadn't heard yet. My knees buckled a little. I backed away, then stepped forward again for another look. He was still there. But here's the thing. Danny died 5 years ago. Car crash on I-19. Hit a semi head-on. Closed casket. I never saw his face after the accident. Just a picture on a memorial card. The hoodie he was wearing now, that was the one we buried him in. I opened the door a crack. "Danny," I whispered. He smiled, a slow, almost mechanical stretch of the lips. "Hey, kiddo," he said, using the name he always called me when we were little. My stomach turned. He sounded right. He smelled right. That cheap cologne he always overused, mixed with a hint of his old cigarettes. But he wasn't blinking, and he wasn't breathing. I stared at him, waiting for his chest to rise, for his eyes to shift. But he just stood there, still as stone. The silence between us stretched too long. My instinct screamed at me to close the door. "Can I come inside?" he asked. That's when I remembered what Grandma always said. If something ever comes to your door and asks to be let in, don't. Doesn't matter if it looks like your mother or your best friend. It's not. The dead don't knock. No, I said quietly, trying to shut the door. But his hand shot out fast. Too fast. He held the edge of the door with fingers that looked too long, too stiff. I saw then that his nails weren't nails at all, but black, curved points like little claws. His smile twitched, and I swear to God it split wider than any human mouth should, reaching from cheek to cheek. That's when I saw them. The teeth. Rows. Not just one. They shimmered in the porch light, wet and sharp, like the inside of a shark's mouth, but messier, more hungry. Toby growled low from the living room, his hackles raised, ears flattened. I'd never seen him like that, not even during thunderstorms. Please, Danny whispered, but the voice was wrong now. Still his voice, but layered, like 2 or 3 voices tangled together, echoing from inside a deep, hollow place. It's cold out here. Let me in. He pressed his forehead against the glass. I saw his eyes then. They weren't my brother's eyes. They were black, empty, bottomless, no whites, just holes filled with something ancient and starving. I slammed the door, locked it, and backed away. For a moment, I just stood there, panting, staring at the door like it might explode off its hinges. Then he screamed. It wasn't human. It was high-pitched, garbled, like a mix between a dying pig and metal scraping concrete. It rattled the windows and made Toby bark like crazy. And then silence. I waited. Eventually, I dared to peek out the window. He was gone, but on the ground outside the door I saw them, hoof prints, deep ones, burned into the dirt like someone had stepped there with red-hot iron hooves. They trailed off into the woods and disappeared. The next morning, I found long scratches down the side of the house, claw marks along the windows, and blood, small dots, leading away from the porch. Toby never went near the front door again. He'd sit by the back window all day, ears up, like he was waiting for something to come back. I didn't sleep for days. I called my mom, asked her again about Grandma's stories. She went quiet for a moment, then said she wasn't lying. And if it ever comes back, don't speak to it again. Don't even look at it. I never saw Danny again. But sometimes, just before dawn, I hear those 3 knocks again. 3 soft taps. And sometimes, I answer. Not the door. Just the whisper behind my teeth. Hey kiddo. Story 3. I've been a long-haul delivery driver for over a decade. I've driven through sleet storms in Wyoming, desert fires in California, and blackouts in Texas, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what I saw near Shiprock, New Mexico. It happened 2 years ago, sometime around late October. The kind of cold where your bones feel it before your skin does. My route took me through the Four Corners, the desolate region where Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico meet. Most of the roads are old and cracked, more dust than pavement, and at night they vanish in a blackness so complete it feels like you're floating in space. That night, I was ahead of schedule. I'd loaded up early in Farmington and was headed down to Shiprock with a shipment of restaurant supplies. My cab smelled like old coffee and beef jerky, and the radio had long gone to static. No signal, no GPS, Just me, the road, and a full tank of diesel. I was maybe 20 miles out from Shiprock when I saw her. At first, I thought it was just a shadow or a figment from staring too long at the empty road. But no, she was real. A woman, walking along the side of the highway, barefoot, wearing a torn, white dress that fluttered in the cold wind. Her hair was long and tangled, blowing across her face. Something about her made my heart jump into my throat. I slowed down instinctively. It was late, maybe midnight or close to it. She didn't look like she belonged out there. Not dressed like that. Not without shoes. Not in that weather. But as I got closer, I felt it. That deep, primal warning in your gut. The one that says don't. I felt it before. Once when a drunk driver veered into my lane. Once when a tire blew out on a mountain pass. That's the level we're talking here. Life or death kind of instinct. Still, I slowed down just a little. She didn't acknowledge the truck. Didn't look up. Just kept walking, stiffly, like her knees weren't bending properly. I was maybe 10 feet away when she stopped. Not suddenly, just gradually, like she realized I was there. Then she did something I'll never forget, no matter how many years pass. She turned her head. Not her body, just her head. And not like a person turns. This was unnatural. A full 180 degrees. Her neck twisted slow, bone by bone, until her face stared directly into my windshield. And there were no eyes. Just two gaping black holes where they should have been. Deep and hollow like they were burned out or scooped clean. Her mouth was slack, jaw hanging crookedly. But she wasn't screaming or crying. She was smiling. I slammed my foot on the gas. My truck roared like a dying animal, tires spitting gravel as I tore away down the road. I didn't dare look back until I did. Something moved in the mirror. Fast. Wrong. She wasn't walking anymore. She was running. No, not running. Crawling like a spider. On all fours. Her limbs bent backwards. Elbows and knees popping in and out of socket. And she was gaining on me. I was doing 65, then 70. My trailer bucked behind me like it wanted to come unhinged. The woman kept pace. Her hair whipped in the wind. Her mouth opened wider, too wide, like her jaw was trying to unhinge. No sound, not a scream, not a breath, just her face and those empty, howling holes where her eyes should have been. I hit 80 and took a blind curve like a madman. Nearly lost control. Then she was gone. No sign of her. No figure in the rear view. Just the road behind me. Empty again like nothing had happened. I didn't stop until I hit the first gas station in Shiprock. I sat in the lot for 30 minutes. Engine running. Hands shaking so bad I couldn't hold my thermos. My shirt was soaked with sweat. I didn't speak to anyone. Didn't tell a soul. For weeks, I thought I'd hallucinated it. Maybe stress or lack of sleep. Maybe I hit my head and didn't realize. But then, other drivers started talking. I was at a truck stop in Gallup a month later, and a guy, old Navajo man who'd been driving for 40 years, asked me if I ever ran the Shiprock Road. I told him yes. He just looked at me and said, "You see the bride yet?" I didn't answer. He told me her story. Years ago, a woman was left at the altar in Shiprock. Her fiancé ran off with her sister. Heartbroken, she walked barefoot down the highway in her wedding dress. They say a drunk driver hit her that same night, and no one stopped to help. Locals found her body 2 days later, her face torn from the impact, her eyes missing, dragged out by crows or something worse. But her spirit, they say it never left. Now, truckers call her the Skinwalker Bride. Some say she's not the woman at all anymore, but something darker that took her pain and made it a vessel. Some drivers vanish, others crash. The lucky ones just see her once and never speak of it again. I never drive that route alone anymore, and every time I'm forced to take it because sometimes there's no other way. I keep my windows up, doors locked, and I never, ever stop for anyone on that road. Especially not for a barefoot woman in white. Story 4. When Grandpa died, nobody in the family really grieved. He'd always been the odd one out, the black sheep with too many stories and too little patience. He lived alone in a weather-beaten cabin near Gallup, deep in the New Mexico mountains. Most of us thought he was crazy, always muttering about spirits in the trees, locking every door at sundown, burning herbs that stank like something crawled out of the earth and died on the stove. I was the only one who ever visited him, once every couple of years. Even then, he barely spoke, just nodded, passed me a warm cup of something bitter, and stared out the window like he was waiting for something to come back. When he passed, the family wanted nothing to do with his property, so it fell to me. They were happy to let me handle it, clean it up, sell it, burn it, whatever. So I went. I told myself I'd stay one night, maybe two, pack his things, donate what I could, and never look back. The cabin was exactly how I remembered it. Small, dark, and heavy with a scent like old cedar and damp ashes. His rocking chair still sat by the fireplace, angled toward the window. There were symbols scratched into the window frame. I didn't remember those from before. I slept on the couch the first night. Nothing happened. The second day, I found the floorboard. It was loose under the bed, probably warped by age and cold. But something about it seemed off, almost deliberate. When I pulled it up, there was a small wooden box underneath. It was old, carved with more of those strange symbols, and locked with a rusted latch. Inside was a folded piece of yellowing paper, fragile like it would turn to dust if I breathed too hard. Written in my grandfather's crooked handwriting were the words, "If you see her, run. Don't look into her eyes. Don't listen to her voice." I stared at it for a long time. My first thought was that it was some senile nonsense, paranoia scribbled down in his final days. I laughed, out loud, alone, in that dead silent cabin. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I believed the note. Don't get me wrong. It was just the wind, I told myself. Cold air pressing through the cracks. Coyotes howling in the distance. That's all. But something about the way the trees creaked outside. It sounded like someone whispering your name, just low enough to make you question your sanity. I stayed up until 3 a.m., eyes fixed on the front door like Grandpa used to do. Then I passed out from exhaustion. On the third night, I woke up to the sound of knocking. Not the random creaks of an old cabin. Not wind. Knocking. 3 sharp raps on the door. I froze. The fire had died out. The air was cold. I reached for my phone, but it was dead, battery drained, even though I'd charged it that morning. My flashlight flickered when I turned it on, and then I saw her. Through the frosted glass in the front door stood a woman, barefoot, thin white dress clinging to her like fog. Her hair was long, soaking wet, even though it hadn't snowed or rained all day. Her arms hung unnaturally long, fingers almost touching her knees. Her skin was pale as moonlight, almost bluish in the cold. She didn't move. She didn't knock again. She just stared. I felt my pulse slow, like my heart was confused about whether to panic or stop altogether. I should have run, screamed, done something, anything. But I just stood there, frozen, watching her, watching it. Then, from behind me, came my grandfather's voice. Clear, calm, firm. Don't open the door. It's not human. I turned so fast I almost tripped over the rug. The voice had come from inside the box. But then, the voice came again, this time from outside. Let me in, grandson, please. It's cold. Same voice. Same tone. Same everything. Like it had recorded him. I started crying. I don't know why. I wasn't scared. I was terrified, yes. But this was something deeper. Like grief twisted into horror. I backed into the bedroom, locked the door, shoved a chair under the knob, and sat in the corner like a child. The whispering didn't stop. Sometimes it was my mom's voice. Sometimes it was Grandpa. Sometimes it sounded like me. All of them begging to be let in. At some point I must have passed out. When I woke up, it was dawn. The house was silent again. My phone had power. My flashlight was working. I forced myself to open the front door. There was no sign of her. The forest looked normal, but the snow outside the door was covered in tracks. Not just footsteps, bare human feet, small and delicate like a woman's, but also animal prints, hoof marks, paws, claws, all of them tangled together, like something had been shifting shapes all night long, trying to find the one that would make me open the door. I burned the box that morning, burned it with everything else. His chair, his blankets, his photos. I packed what I needed and left before noon. Never looked back. The cabin still stands, I think, but no one wants it. Sometimes I wonder if that's what it wants. Just someone to let it in. All I know is this. If you ever find yourself in a cabin near Gallup and a woman knocks at your door in the dead of night, don't look at her. Don't listen to her voice. And never open the door.